So a lot of people ask me, what is substance misuse? And one of the things that we talk about when people come into our substance misuse groups here at Willowbrook is, what does this look like? For a lot of them, they started off with, I'm going to have a glass of wine after work, or I'm going to have a beer at the big game, and it wasn't really causing them any difficulties. But then somewhere in there, it translated into, now I'm drinking more than I meant to, or I'm taking more of these pills than I intended to, and I'm starting to have consequences in my life. And the consequences can be pretty far-ranging, but the issue winds up with, it's really causing me more harm than I'm having beneficial effects from it. Substance misuse is when I want to stop being able to use something that previously was a positive coping skill for me, and at this point in time it's harming me now. Clinically, we have 11 different criteria for symptoms of substance misuse, or substance use disorder as we talk about it. Those symptoms are all over the place, from social issues that people are having to use more of a substance to get the same effect, to using in hazardous conditions, whether it's with strangers or on the street. Sometimes the symptoms are things like we're having withdrawal symptoms when we stop using, more than just I feel a little odd the next day. It's I'm really starting to have some difficulty now with things like shaking or hangovers that are to the point that I can't go to work. Sometimes substance misuse symptoms are things that are a little more dire, and they're going to include things like incarceration and profound social issues that we might be having. In essence, again, if it starts occupying more and more and more of our time, those are going to be ways that we start looking at, is this really criteria for someone coming in to get treatment for this? For a lot of people, they'll walk in our doors and their question is, do I have a substance use disorder? Other people in my life say that they think I do, but I'm not so sure. And that winds up being one of the first things that we try and address with them in treatment, is really helping them see the impact that these substances are having on their life. The difference between use and abuse used to be something we would differentiate clinically again. At this point, it really comes down to use would be something that for a lot of people was a positive coping skill for them. It relaxed them, it allowed them to engage socially, it helped them have fun, things like that. Again, things that weren't causing them issues in their life. We start straying into the realm of substance abuse when people are, for example, if it's a prescription medication, they're taking it more often than they should be, more often than it's prescribed. They're taking it for things that it was not prescribed for. So if they're taking pain medication, for example, they might take it because it gives them energy instead of just relieving pain. They start really anticipating that use and having physiological effects from the use a lot of times. So the difference is, it starts to have more of an impact on our life and starts to occupy more of our time and more of our social well-being. We've got lots and lots of treatment options. Here at Willowbrook, we've got everything from outpatient therapy. If somebody says, I just need to talk to somebody and get this figured out, I'm drinking more than I meant to, especially with the pandemic going on and everything else. We've had a lot of people that say, I'm at home and I was just drinking more because I didn't have anything to do. I had a lot of free time. That kind of stuff. It may be that you want to come in and talk to an outpatient counselor. If things are more severe than that, if things are getting in the way physically in your life, or you're starting to have legal consequences from this, financial consequences, issues with relationships, then it may be that you're looking at working a program, for example. And we've got individual programs that we tailor to people over here for intensive outpatient treatment, partial hospitalization treatment, and then finally, sometimes people come in and they say, I'm really at a point that I'm not able to maintain this at all at home by myself. I've tried and I'm having too much difficulty. So then we start looking at people coming in and being able to do residential treatment programs where they live on site at a facility for a little while until we can get those cravings under control. If our concern winds up being, how am I going to be doing medically with this? For example, alcohol and benzodiazepines, to stop using those medications can be very dangerous to people, and people can have a lot of ill effects just from stopping. So sometimes we'll bring people in and we'll do a medically assisted detoxification on unit here, and they'll stay with us. We'll make sure they have medications so that they're not feeling badly, so that there's nothing dangerous going on. So that we can monitor them with vitals and nurses and things like that in the process, and really try and make the process easier for them. A long time ago, it used to be thought that you had to go through an awful lot of pain before you were able to successfully recover to make it uncomfortable, the use. That's not the case anymore. We don't want people to be any more uncomfortable than they have to be. We want to make this as easy as possible and accessible as possible for people. We've got a lot of mental health problems that occur as a cause of substance misuse. We have mental health problems that can cause substance misuse, and then we have some that are what we call comorbid. They're happening, at the same time. Substance use itself, allowed to progress and unabated, we wind up seeing cause a lot of financial difficulties, a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, a lot of grief and sorrow and anger, frustration and guilt. That can translate into a ton of different things for people. But sometimes people also walk in and they're dealing with things from their past, like trauma. We may see first responders or soldiers or people that have had difficult events in their life come in and say, substance use really seemed like the only way that I could deal with some of these negative feelings and thoughts that I was having. And now, what used to be the answer for me has become the problem for me. And I don't know what to do about that. So we see a lot of different issues come up. Substance use itself can actually cause a lot of physiological problems with people as well, though, that can present as mental health issues. So difficulty with thinking, reasoning, difficulty with memory, difficulty engaging with other people, strange behaviors, mood swings. There can be all kinds of things that can be caused from substance misuse, up to and including psychotic episodes. And that can be really scary for people that are engaged in those and for their families. If you are questioning whether you've got a substance use disorder, my encouragement to you is come and get an assessment. Find out, talk to a professional. Don't feel like you've got to diagnose yourself, but come and talk to someone. Here at Willowbrook, we do free assessments on people. You can come in the door, there's no obligation for anything, and they'll let you know this looks like something that we need to be addressing one way or another with you. The easy answer for it, though, is if you're questioning at this point if you're drinking too much, or if you're using too much, or if that use is causing you too many headaches in your life, or if other people are coming to you and saying, hey, look, I really think we need to stop, we need to get a handle on this, then chances are we've got an issue. We've got something that is alerting either yourself or other people to the fact that this isn't who you are. This isn't how you would typically be acting or behaving, and it's starting to cause a lot of problems for you. So at that point, I would say it's probably time to go ahead and seek some help. Generally, people that have substance use disorders, when they come in to see us, they've tried to stop on their own already. They've tried to cut back on their own already, and those efforts have been unsuccessful because this is a really difficult thing to be able to do. So coming to see a professional and being able to get some help with that can be greatly beneficial to them. Your doctor says you need medication. Sometimes in early recovery, people are going to find medication to be very helpful for doing things like controlling cravings, controlling physical symptoms that they may be having. A lot of times we see people running into issues with anxiety or sleep issues. They may be having issues with controlling their mood or unconditional crying spells. When we talk about medication for substance use treatment, a lot of times we're talking about just in the early recovery period, and people are able to eventually migrate off that medication and get back to living their life the way that they did prior to substance use. When we talk about medication-assisted treatment, which is a specific term in the field, we may be talking about being able to control really specific types of cravings and physiological symptoms for things like opiate use withdrawal. So if someone is trying to stop using pain medications, they may find that physically impossible to do without having a physician be able to help with that. Again, being able to get to a professional, talk to them about that, getting some answers, and always advocating for yourself and asking the questions you want to know so you can understand this isn't just trading one addiction for another. This is really about making sure you start your treatment off the right way so that you can learn the skills you need to change your life and get back to living. There are a lot of ways to get more information and support on this. One of the easiest ways is just to go ahead and come down to Willowbrook. Again, we've got free assessments. We'll make sure that you walk out with multiple different treatment options, multiple different providers, even if it's not in our hospital system, making sure that you know there's support locally in your community.